Here at the Daily Reckoning Australia, we are one of Australia's largest alternative financial news investing sites. Every morning, I write to tens of thousands of people around the country to give them information that goes beyond a catchy headline. In fact, if you do follow financial news, you'll probably notice that most mainstream news companies are all running pretty similar headlines. Now, for an investor, that doesn't tell you much. In fact, if anything, all you're going to end up is with the same information as everybody else. Well, that's not what we try to do here at the Daily Reckoning Australia. Here we're looking for emergent trends or even big picture movements in the market and across the financial system that could drastically alter your investment decisions. We had a quiet January and then stocks were moving up into February. However, it was around middle January that I alerted investors through the Daily Reckoning Australia that I didn't think they were pricing in the risk in China appropriately. One thing I noticed is that the stock market continued to rally in the middle of January when China shut down basically the labour capital of the world, yet stocks continued to rise. And as I told my subscribers at the time, that something's not right. You don't shut up 17% of the world's gross domestic production and expect everything's going to be okay. Come February 21st, that changed. That's when the stock markets absolutely tumbled and we spent the next 5 or 6 weeks chasing our tail for information, trying to work out what was going on. Day after day after day of falls. Now, my existing subscribers know just how exhausting it was to make heads or tails of that information. So I understand why you're here. Because what we're seeing over in the mainstream right now is really just churning out the same information that we've had endlessly for the past few weeks. However, the question from here that investors are really asking is, are stocks cheap? Do we want to rush in and buy everything while they're going at a discount? Or is there worse to come and that we really need to wait it out? Well, that's what I do here at the Daily Reckoning Australia. Now, right now, I'm not convinced that the worst is over. Well, it's not really that I'm going to help you, it's that you're going to help yourself. If you've come to the Daily Reckoning Australia, it's because you're a self-directed investor. And by that, I mean that you're simply looking to protect your wealth and create your own financial freedom where possible. But it also tells me too that you possibly don't believe in the information that you're getting elsewhere. This is what I do. I help investors understand not only the market gyrations, but unpredictabilities that might move markets in certain directions. The thing you need to know about the Daily Reckoning Australia is that we are 100% independent. There's no paid advertisers here that we need to toe the line with. And we have no hidden agenda and no vested interest in the things that we're writing to you about. We are 100% independent and we encourage all of our editors here to write about the problems they see looming in the market based on their view, not a company view. And that's what separates us from the rest. We are not writing to somebody else's big picture. We are writing based on unraveling situations in the broader economy. More importantly, we are advocates for 3 things: sound money principles, small government, and personal liberties. Now, you're not always going to agree with the things we say here, but that's the point of the Daily Reckoning Australia. We aren't here to sugarcoat anything, but what we will do is provide you with thought-provoking information that could help you become a better investor. We have a bunch of regular editors here at the Daily Reckoning Australia. First of all, myself, Shay Russell. I've been the chief editor of the Daily Reckoning Australia for almost 2 years now. But don't let that fool you. I've been an investment writer for over a decade. Now, the other people that join me here at the Daily Reckoning Australia is Nick Hubble. He's our international contributor, and he's based over in the UK. And I promise you, you won't find a bigger contrarian than him. We've got a handful of international contributors. We've got an editor who has lived all around the world. Unfortunately for her, they just happened to be at the same time. Most bubbles were popping. But of course, one of the strongest voices you're going to find here at the Daily Reckoning Australia is Jim Rickards. Now, Jim Rickards probably needs little introduction. He's the author of 5 books, and he's been at the forefront of pretty much every market trend over the past decade. He's called out currency wars, he called the trade war, and he's also one of the very few who actually said that Trump was going to win the 2016 election. I didn't go to a fancy private school, and I don't have an economics degree. I did cut my teeth in this industry an awful long time ago. I've been in the markets for about 15 years now. I spent a couple of years as a derivatives consultant, and the last more than a decade I've been an investment writer and explaining the benefits to people of owning precious metals. But here's what I can tell you about the majority of people who did get that private school education and did go on and get that economics degree. They all think the same. And it's one thing that I notice time and time again is that when you come up against these people, you're very much coming up against institutionalized thinking. There's rarely a contrarian among them, which is why I'm so privileged to do what I do. I work with a bunch of contrarians, and no more so than Jim Rickards. You know, you've got to remember Jim Rickards is the guy that wrote a book about currency wars even before we knew what to call them that. He's recently written a book called The Aftermath, and that's what comes after the crisis. But that's predicting what happens a couple of years from now. A few years ago, he wrote a book called The Road to Ruin that actually predicted exactly what we are seeing play out in the financial system right now. And he wrote that book back in 2016, 4 years before it actually happened. That's what we have to offer you here at the Daily Reckoning Australia. The ability to look beyond the headlines and look deep into the markets and explain the systemic issues that can affect your wealth. Over the coming days, you're going to want to stick with the Daily Reckoning Australia, because Jim and I are going to give you our in-depth analysis to show you that the markets is much more complex than a simple headline designed to grab your attention to show that stocks are crashing or that stocks are going up. No, what we're here to do is actually to teach you how the markets and the financial system and the monetary system, because they're three different things, we're here to help you understand how they operate. And this is what you can expect from us in your inbox each day. You are going to hear not just a soundbite which makes people sound clever. We're going to show you through our own analysis and through our own in-depth research exactly how things work. We don't know that yet. And anybody who can give you a 10-word answer is really just looking for a soundbite and doesn't fully understand the problems that we are facing right now. What we're looking at is a health crisis that morphed into a financial crisis that's becoming an economic crisis. These are incredible chains of events that has exposed the fragility of our health system, our financial system, and our precarious global backdrop. Everything in the global economy relies on the supply chains working. And when the labour hub of the world was shut down back in January, the supply chain stopped. And it exposed all these pockets that we didn't foresee. We live in a world where everything comes to us straight away, but yet suddenly we couldn't get our hands on these goods. But we need to not think that's where the stories end. The risks haven't gone away. If anything, the risks in the market are just beginning. I mean, just look at my surroundings. I'm coming to you from my home office. Like thousands and thousands of Australians right now, I've been asked to work from home while this health crisis is dealt with by our governments. We have had our freedom of movement restricted. Never before have we been told we can't leave the house when we choose to. This is only just the beginning of the risks that our Australians are facing. Not only have we had our freedoms stifled, and as I said before, we're big on personal liberties here at the Daily Reckoning Australia, but also too, our ability to invest is going to come into question because many of us have lost our jobs. But what do these job losses mean for the broader economy? Will other sectors be shut down? And what happens to the value of our currency, our AAA credit rating, for example, if other sectors of the economy are shut down? What will the central bank do about it? Can they do anything about it? Is it less about propping up an economy? Or is it more about just trying to stop social unrest? The biggest risks we see right now don't fit in a nice, neat little bow. Two of the greatest things about the Daily Reckoning Australia are that we are 100% independent. We don't write to an agenda. We don't write you a story because our publisher thinks you might like it. Because we have no paid advertisers, we have the freedom to write what we believe in. And that is where our incredible editing team come into it. We have some amazing editors from around the world that can give you contrarian views and counter a lot of the mainstream rhetoric that you receive and see each day. Our strength is that there are very few people in the marketplace that think like us. And because we're able to pass this knowledge on to you, you're able to benefit from it. Yep, the Daily Reckoning is 100% free, and it will always be that way. We're never going to charge you for it, and you can stay on as a reader as long as you want. Occasionally we will send you emails with some great ideas that we think you might be interested in. But whether you take those ideas up or not, well, that choice is up to you.